Alright, let's address the elephant in the room here. Apparently cuttlefish, or cuttlelings if you will, are inevitable. Personally, this makes me want to vomit everywhere out of sheer PTSD of the idea of cuttlelings, but it's something that needs to be properly addressed. So, the idea that cuttlelings existing in the game for real has gotten bigger over the last few weeks due to some weird shaped signs and some hats found in Hagglefish Market. This has once again brought up the idea of cuttlelings, the hypothetical evolution of cuttlefish in Splatoon, maybe soon a new playable race in Splatoon 3. So today we're going to talk about how likely this is, why it may happen, and how Captain Cuttlefish and the Squid sisters are still Inklings. Because I don't want the cuddling believers to start nagging the hell out of me again thinking that Callie and Marie are cuttlefish, because they're not. Before we start, I'm trying to hit 30,000 subscribers before March 15th, so if you want to be a real homie then hit that subscribe button for almost daily Splatoon content. Okay, video time. So we've known cuttlelings have been real for a while now, or at least some evolution of cuttlefish that resemble an Inkling. These two right here were quote-unquote introduced to us in Octo Expansion in an old magazine. We don't actually meet them, but we know they exist. They were a real cuttlefish music duo from a few decades ago, and they look pretty similar to Inklings. Another thing that real cuttlefish can do is produce ink, pretty similar to squids and octopuses, meaning them evolving similarly to Inklings and Octolings isn't off the table. However, one thing that doesn't make a whole ton of sense is if they evolved the same way Inklings and Octolings did, why weren't they brought up in the Alternalogs? It doesn't make a whole ton of sense to have this third race that match Inklings and Octolings in ability not be brought up in the Alternalogs. They should have the same presence as them. I mean, we know cuttlefish aren't a hidden race. They were out in plain sight as celebrities and weren't hush-hush about the fact that they were cuttlefish. So why leave them out of the Alternalogs? We know that Inklings and Octolings evolved so quickly because of Alterna, and Orca was aware of all of the other human preservation attempts. So it's not like they had some hidden human survivor group that managed to make the same memory crystals that were made in Alterna, and then went off and melted all of the crystals and then died the same way the Alternans did. So, the Cuttlelings seem to have a pretty flawed origin story, but regardless, another thing to consider is where exactly are the Cuttlelings now? We know they had some sort of presence a few decades ago, but why have they been non-existent in Splatoon 1 and 2 and only started to drop hints that they exist in 3? I mean, it's possible that they solely live in the Splatlands, but if that was the case, I feel like we'd seen more of their presence by now. But I think our best idea of where the Cuttlelings have been has gotta just be the Splatlands, because we just don't have any other clue at this point. Now, the Squid sisters, let's address them. Number 1, take the theory that you heard about them being cuttlefish, and then never think about it ever again. We know that the Squid sisters have squid forms. We see Marie's squid form as a promo for her talk show in Splatoon 2. And we know Captain Cuttlefish is one because of his mummification thing in Splatoon 3. Those three are not cuttlefish, okay? Can we as a community acknowledge that cuttlelings can exist without needing to think every character is a part of some secret cuttlefish Illuminati? Pearl's not a cuttlefish, Callie's not a cuttlefish, Marie's not a cuttlefish, and Captain Cuttlefish isn't a cuttlefish. I will literally delete my channel if Captain Cuttlefish is actually a cuttlefish and not an Inkling. Also, we know Pearl isn't a cuttlefish because we've been literally told what type of squid she is. Pearl is a northern pygmy squid, so it seems that cuttlelings are inevitable, and with their eventual arrival possibly in the Splatoon 3 DLC, maybe we can have our questions answered on where they've been and how they exist if they're not from Alterna. Okay, I think I'm done with cuttlelings for today. Didn't think they were ever going to be real, but I guess it might actually happen now. Just please understand that we do not currently know any cuttlefish characters. The Squid sisters are not cuttlefish, okay? If I see one unironic comment about Captain Cuttlefish's cuddle bones, I'm going to have a stroke. It's a funny joke for a funny kids game. Do not take the joke that far. Alright gamers, that's it from me. See ya.